Hi, thank you, Patrick. Welcome back to the Astro Imaging channel. It's April at last, and Southern California, the rains have ended for a little while. We aren't getting any more till about Tuesday or Wednesday, I hear. But it's good to have you all back. We're going to have a good show tonight. Bruce is going to be here, and Bruce is going to be talking a little bit different from usual. He's going to be talking about how you can enjoy taking pictures. Well, I'll let Bruce tell you about it when he gets his chance to do that. And I'm going to tell you about the calendar. This is Bruce today. In a couple of weeks, we're going to take off because we got to go back to New York and see NEAF and the Northeast Astro Imaging Conference. So we're not going to have a program for you here. Tom is coming back. You remember Tom the other day? He was talking about some of the telescopes he works with, and now he's going to show us how he processes his lunar imaging with the Lucky imaging techniques. And then short out as pictures, make some beautiful pictures. Steve Miller will be telling us about that. And then for those who like to see some real intelligence, the kind that makes artificial intelligence, Russ Croman is going to be talking about AI-powered deconvolution. Got an open day. We need somebody to fill those, so we're always looking for presenters. All you got to do is come up here to contact and say your name, your last name, your email address, and tell us a little bit about what it is that you can talk about. And when you do that, we'd love to hear from you. So please go ahead and do that. Running back to the calendar right now, you can see that Ron Bretcher's coming in, Randall Kafis, and we've got our anniversary show coming up where we're going to tell you about statistics, and I think we've got our tutorials worked out. I'm going to do one. We usually do about 10 or 15 minutes just telling you the statistics for the year, how many people watched, and this kind of stuff and that kind of stuff. But we also then have two tutorials, 20-minute shows about some particular thing, and we're going to have something about how to use a Mac, a 20-minute show about how to use a Mac for astro imaging, and probably something about how to get off-axis guider online and stuff like that. And then we've got some other empty dates, so please come on in and help us fill those empty dates. I want to ask Dennis Mamana to come on in, and if I stop sharing, let me see. No, where am I? Oops, there's the meeting. Dennis is here. Dennis, can you tell us a little bit about what you're going to be talking about next week?
You got to unmute yourself, Dennis.
Yeah. That little red microphone button. There you go.
Okay. Yeah, I would like to talk a little bit about this mystical, ethereal phenomenon known as the aurora borealis. Most people think you can see it only from the Arctic or subarctic, but that is not correct. We can, in fact, sometimes see it from middle to lower latitudes. In fact, just a couple of weeks ago, we were able to see it as far south as Utah, Northern California, Virginia, got some, even Central Europe. There are ways to photograph this properly, but we have to understand what it is, how it works, how to predict it, and then we can actually start to photograph with very, very simple equipment, or even take videos of it. So that's what I would like to talk about.
Great. Thank you very much, Dennis. And now we've got Bruce Herwig waiting in the rings. Bruce, quit waiting. Put on a show for us here, dude.
All right. Appreciate that, Alex. Make sure you can see my screen. And switch over to the PowerPoint. Are we good?
Looks good.
Great.
Hit that hide button on the bar at the bottom.
Thank you.
Yeah, perfect.
Now it hid. There we go. My name's Bruce Herwig. I am living here in Southern California. Just a little bit of background. I love to shoot astrophotography. Hopefully everybody on this channel does. Mostly landscapes with Milky Way. This is at the Toronto Pinnacles. The other one was in Vegas. I also love showing movement, showing the movement of the stars through star trails. This was over at the Whitewater Preserve. just showing the movement of the Earth spinning, the stars moving. This was over in Joshua Tree. I call this one the Eye of God, and it was this was 8 hours worth of star trails. Tried to shoot this one time. It was so cold the batteries ran out, so I got myself a external battery. But how do you show movement? And movement of the moon. That one's easier. This was an eclipse. It was too big, so I had to it was too tall to show in a photo, so I moved it to the side. But again, showing that movement. The super blue blood moon a few years ago, again, showing motion, showing movement. So we've got movement of the stars, the movement of the moon. I call this one my string of pearls. This was sitting over on the San Bernardino Mountains, overlooking the valley. But how do you show the movement of the sun? It's so bright. So this was a International Space Station going across the sun, again showing that movement. This was over Baseline, the big east-west street in Highland, California, showing the sun, overlooking Baseline and the motion over there. But I had a real conundrum. SaveLifeOakCanyon.com. These are a bunch of conservancy folks. In the summertime, the sun rises between Mount San Bernardino and Mount San Gorgonio. There's a notch right there where I'm pointing, and I photograph that every year on the equinoxes, or not the equinox, the the solstices, the two solstices. On the winter, it rises on the plateau behind Mount San Jacinto. And so that is showing over here where it rises over there. Now, the trick is this is a special place. At one point, this was an aerial photograph that was taken at this very area, showing what is believed to be a Native American geoglyph. So this is where it is believed, and they say that it was believed because at some point somebody bulldozed this entire area, and so this geoglyph is no longer there. So I saw in petapixel.com, this was a online article about how somebody was shooting the sun, and they had some sort of camera here. It was a pinhole camera. And I thought, this is great. This is exactly what I'm doing. I want to do this kind of photography to show the movement of the sun between the two solstices at this geoglyph location. So I did a search online, as everybody does. You do a Google search, and I found pinhole solargraphy. It's like, aha, I now have a name for this thing that I'm looking for. It's solargraphy. And this was great. And all of a sudden, I'm looking at this article, and they're pulling out knives. They've got holes. I look at the razor. Now, some of you online may be very mechanically minded. Not me. I had a mechanical bypass. I figured I would chop my finger off, get some sort of disease, and kill myself making one of these things myself. So I was very, I wasn't excited about this solution. And these things look very, very homemadey and ugly. And so I went back to the original article, and they go, hold it, there's words on here. So I flipped it on its side, and it said solar cam. So that sounds much better. So I looked it up, and it's actually a company based in the UK, and they make pinhole photography in a cam. So I'm going to stop sharing here, and I'm going to let the founder introduce his product himself. Now, if I do this correctly, I will share my screen. I will share a tab. And Sam Cornwall is his name. And I'll let him introduce the solar can.
Hi and welcome to my first ever Kickstarter, where I'd like to talk to you about SolarCan, a fully functional extreme time exposure camera capable of capturing the path of the sun through the day's sky. Confused? Well, with SolarCan, people of all ages and abilities will be able to create unique images like this, or this, or this. Let me explain to you how the SolarCan works. When it first arrives, getting started couldn't be easier. Just look for a nice spot to place it outside or a sun-facing window inside and make sure it's secure, then remove the black tab. Immediately, light will be able to pass through the pinhole and begin exposing an image on the photographic paper inside. The minimum exposure time is around a week. However, bear in mind that the longer you leave it, the more impressive the sun's path will look. During the summer, the sun is higher in the sky, whereas in the winter, much lower. When your time is up, well, you simply run out of patience, remove your solar can and bring it indoors to reveal the photograph that you have captured. Using a standard tin opener, remove the solar can lid and retrieve the photographic paper inside. Finally, take a digital picture of your image using your phone camera or computer scanner and invert the colours using a free photo editing app. Masterpiece will then be created. But first we need your help.
I'm going to stop sharing that. And I'm going to go back to my screen and pick up where we left off. So this was a pretty innovative product, I thought. It was a Kickstarter. And as you saw, there was, it showed the path of the sun and it showed the movement. And it showed it over a long period of time, up to 6 months or longer. And this was exactly what I was looking for. And some of these images I think, are just absolutely beautiful, all done with a pinhole camera. What you can find on the internet is just so impressive and so beautiful. And you get these beautiful silhouettes in the front, and you show the path of how it moves from the winter where it's very low to the summer where it's very high. And so I bought a 5-pack. So they're $85 for a 5-pack. And I said, send them on over. And so they came, and they had this handy dandy instruction book inside of it. So this is great. Super simple. Find a location, which is a good idea, a suitable location. They're saying facing the sun. Seek permission. When to start it. So I wanted to start it at one of the solstices and use the zip ties. It's like, okay, I could do this. 1, 2, 3. And so they show you how the pinhole works. And as the light comes through, it actually does a reverse image on there. And because it's the photographic paper, it only is going to show the brightest things, which is the sun. And it's going to be upside down and backwards. Very similar to any other pinhole camera. Actually, it's how your camera works. And it's how our brains work. Everything's upside down and our brain has to flip it back up. So it comes with the zip ties, everything that you need, and you just find a place to stick it and you zip tie it up. And so I knew my place. I wanted to be right here where the geoglyph was going to be in place. So that's at the end of Freya Drive here in Redlands. And you can see how the path goes right through here. So I knew where I wanted to put this. So that was step one. Find out where you wanted to put it. This was facing due east, right where the sun was going to be rising. And so now I needed to find out specifically where I was going to stick it. So there was 3 houses that were a possibility. I had contact with house number 1, house number 2. So I called him up, wasn't able to get over there. So I stopped by his house. He wasn't available. So I walked over to house number 2. House number 2, they said, I said, I showed them what the solar can look like. Can I put one up at the end of your driveway? And it was an absolute no, you cannot. And so I walked across to number 3, and they said, well, they weren't home. So I got a call back from house number 1, and they said, house number 3, they're going to be out of town on vacation. So sure, go ahead and use their place. So I thought that was great. So used permission there. So I knew when I was going to stick it in. Summer solstice. This was my first one. And then pick it up at the winter solstice. So I had my exact install and my exact pickup date. So after I walked through house number 3's backyard, making sure there was no dogs, walked through the gate, and there was this nice pole that I could stick it to. So I used the solar, used the little tabs. What are those? The white thingies.
Zip
Put those
ties.
on there. Thank you. The zip ties. I use the zip ties. Now the good news about zip ties is they're cheap. In this case here, I put a round thing on a round thing, and that was not good. So this was 6 months later when I went to pick it up. It had slipped and moved, which was a challenge. And so as I went through, I had put all kinds of Post-its and posted with permission and call me if there's a question. Don't remove, scientific experiment, everything I could to make sure that this didn't get moved. And then I popped those zip ties off. Man, those were so brittle. They were out in the sun for 6 months, and it was very brittle. They came off very, very easily. And so I had my 2 solar cans. I put the tabs that you pull off to let the hole in. There are holes right underneath the tab. I stuck it underneath the can. So I put those back on and brought it home. And so you have an idea of size. The solar can is taller and thinner than a traditional Coca-Cola can, just for a size reference. It's a little bit thinner, more like an Arizona tea, if I could, if any of you are familiar with that. So just like the instructions say, you get a can opener. And so I got a can opener, and this is just in the daytime. Probably could do it in a dark room if you wanted to, but it's not that light sensitive. Went ahead and used the can opener, and you could see inside. It's like, oh, this was my first time looking inside of a solar can. And they have these little tab things. It's like, that's how they keep the paper in place. They have these guys really thought of everything through. The paper's already inside. It slides in on the top there, and there I pulled it out. And so it was upside down and backwards. And so I flipped it over, and what they say what you do next, I was looking at the one on the right-hand side, and you can see it was kind of cattywampus. And so I had to toss that one. That one didn't work. I didn't go ahead and process that. You can see 2 main lines. You can kind of see where it flipped. So this was took a picture of it. And I could see that, okay, in this wintertime, the sun was low to the ground. And in the summertime, it went high in the ground, or it went high in the sky, not in the ground, from the ground to the sky. And this was very exciting to see how this worked out. But I had taken a picture using my smartphone, using a panorama, and went ahead and placed it in and resized it up. And so at this geoglyph where our Native Americans would use as a special place where you could see both solstices, I was able to show what the sky looked like as the sun moved. So after a year of looking and 6 months of waiting, I finally got this image. And so I was super excited. It made it into their report, and to show that this was a very special place. But 6 months for one image, geez, that's a long time. So now I got to go do the second one. So this is where I work. This is the office. I work at the Xerox building. And so I figured this would be a great place to put it, easy access. So I called the building management and said, I'd like to do this. And they said, is this a camera surveillance? And I said, no, it's a pinhole camera. It's just more of a scientific experiment. And so they allowed me to go up on the roof. So I got that's Juan. He's leading me up on top. And we find a pole and I hook up the solar can. Same idea. This time I didn't use the zip ties. I used something a little bit more powerful, more sturdy, because it was going to get some wind up there with the Santa Anas coming through. And so it's 6 months go by. It's kind of like a cooking show, except for 60 minutes. It's 6 months and popping back up. Everything was still there. That was good. It's always good when you find your equipment back there. And there's the little tab. So I took the tab out, put it on top to make sure that as I was moving the solar can, no extra light would be coming through. And so I went ahead and took it off. I put some extra padding on the can just so as the replacement zip ties, those metal things, had something to dig into so it would stay in place. Took it back to the house. And I got to tell you, you've been waiting 6 months for this. It's really exciting to open one of these things up just to see what you got. And open it up. There again is the little tabby deals that they have. Take the paper out. Better close-up picture of that. Again, just the genius of the simplicity of this product. And slide that paper out. And there was my image. I was facing exactly due south. And so the sun was lower in the wintertime, higher. In fact, so high, I can't even capture it all. You're looking at about 160 degrees at this point. So there you do have some warpage. And so then pop that foreground in. And for those of you who know the area, this is the Loma Linda Hospital, the new Loma Linda Hospital that's right over here overlooking the building. And rises in the winter, it goes slow. And in the summertime, it goes much, much longer. Now, this is where it gets fun, because now once you've got the technique down, and I know it can work. So this is a year in process. Now, you're looking for inspiration. You're looking for foregrounds. Now, this gentleman here, Marcelin Lilla Poland, he's from one of the Slavic countries, and he has a Facebook page here. And I'm looking at his work, and this is, to me, absolutely inspiring. He puts these all over Europe, and just beautiful editing, beautiful foregrounds. This is actually at a shipyard. You can see the boat that was in there. You can see the wintertime. And as you move north, latitude wise, the sun, it doesn't go up as high. So because you have shorter and shorter days. And so you have a smaller arch, where here in Southern California, we have a really big arch, really long days. Some of the pictures here, move it to the left a little bit, move it to the right. Now you're talking about an artistic expression, not just a technical one. Always looking for that foreground, which is very similar to what I'm trying to do with my star trails and my Milky Way. I want to make sure that the foreground gives the background a place to sit and to stand. It's not a perfect process. There's, it can get wet. Sometimes these things get damaged, but that's part of the deal. And he puts together a calendar. Now, I was very attuned to his calendar because I put together a calendar. I have an Astro calendar. I have a Redlands calendar. Molly, I know that you put together a calendar, and it takes a lot of work for these things to kind of get your best images and put your best foot forward. And so I have a lot of respect for the creativity that goes into it. But then I got to take a look at a little bit behind the scenes. He makes his own. This guy is dedicated. He makes his own, drills his own holes, puts all these things together. And so you can take it to, I wasn't ready to take it to this far of an extreme for sure. The Solarcan was much more my speed from that standpoint. But as he's placing these all over Europe, you kind of have to hide them because somebody sees a bright, these large cans, they could drag attention, and especially after 9/11, some large metal object, you don't want the bomb squad being called on your Solarcan, but you need to have them up for a certain period of time, and you can really take these things to extreme levels. Let me show you. So the help me out here on the pronunciation. The Analemala and Anamala.
Analemma.
Thank you. The Sunny 8s with a Solarcan. Some guy had developed a 3D computer controlled, Raspberry Pi, where it would cover and uncover at the right times, and with a with a pinhole camera. That is so impressive. Here's the Octalama is what they called this thing. Had one Solarcan going in every direction, which is super fun to see how the sun is moving in all these different places. 8 Solarcans from the solstice to the solstice, north, south, east, west, horizontal, vertical. You can they've had one over there. You can see the reflection in the water. Just now you're moving into art. Now here's somebody, I would love to do this. Pull a tab off every few weeks, and what you would end up with, you would put all these things together. You would have a beautiful animation of the sun rising, and using an animation type process. That to me would be super excited. I would love to do a project like that. Now, the world's largest exposure of any camera was actually done on a pinhole camera. One of these, also called beer can cameras. This was at a UK telescope. It was put up and forgotten. So it was just sun goes up, sun goes down, sun goes up, solstice to solstice to solstice. For 8 years, this thing was put up there. And somebody finally found it. It was on the side of an astronomy telescope deal. You can see the ice that had formed on it. And you open that thing up, and it was just plain old Ilford paper, which you can buy at B&H, or if you go down to Sammy's Camera here and in California, same kind of photographic paper used with these large cans, homemade. This was a homemade job here with a hole in it, and it stood up there for 8 years. So that is a record for the world's longest exposure done with a pinhole camera. So once more, gonna go out there. This time I got permission from the Redlands Estencia. I put it on The roof had it hanging off the side. Again, looked more like, I didn't want to ruin their sight line. It looked more like something more of a cell phone extender or booster, and had it again, no zip ties this time. I was using welding. I didn't weld it. I used welding putty to attach it. I thought that would be the best way to go. 6 months, 100-degree heat. I knew with the wind, I knew this would be. So I pulled off the tab. So this was installed from solstice again to solstice. Knew when I was going to put it down, was going to drop it off. And again, lower in the summertime, higher in the wintertime, or opposite way. It's lower in the wintertime, higher in the summertime. And this one I was trying to put, if I pulled off the tab every 3 weeks, what would it look like? Just to kind of see where I was. And I think I messed up somewhere in here. But what's neat is you could see when we had cloudy days, when we didn't have cloudy days. Very clear the movement of the sun. And by bringing in that foreground, you get a sense of space and a sense of place that you don't get normally with just the cans. So back to our guy in Poland. Okay, so he inspired me. So I went ahead and bought my own paper, but I wasn't going to get too crazy. I went ahead and got an old camera cylinder that you used to put the film in, and I got a pin and I heated up the pin and I put that in there. And so these are really tiny, about 2 inches. And so I went back to the Astencia and I put it in, and you would think the sun would be pretty hard to miss, but I missed the entire sun totally. I missed the Astencia, this large object right in front of me. I missed it. So this is not the first time that this has happened. But in an experiment, there it is. You can see the Astencia is off to the right. And I think, but I did get some pinhole camera foreground. And that's one of the things when if you're only going far away, landscape type, there's not a lot of detail in the foreground. So you need a foreground that's relatively close to pull in some of that detail.
Bruce?
Yes.
Can you take a couple of questions?
Perfect.
Actually, I see one here and I have another. Can you tell us about what kind of paper you need, and does it need to be developed, or is that another process, or does it come out already exposed and the image is there?
This is Ilford photographic paper that is only exposed by the light of something that is by a bright light. So there's no chemicals involved that you have to deal with. So there's no dark room that you need. It just comes right out of the can, pre-done.
And I noticed that your background color on some of those images were like blue sky. Did you do some photoshopping on that image, or did it come out blue?
For here, for example, this is where white balance is a beautiful thing. I could slide it to the left or slide it to the right. You'll see some oranges and purples and greens in some future photos that I'll be showing. Totally made up, because the paper is brown as it comes out. Let's see, the paper as it comes out of the cans, that's what it looks like. So it's totally brown. So with Photoshop and the imaging, you can actually see on the bottom here, this is where the tabs are on the left, and on the left and the right, this is where those it's just holding the paper in place. But the paper's brown and is exposed just by the light of the sun.
And with the pinhole, you've got an extremely long depth of field, so everything is in focus as it's going to be, right?
Right, and there's all kinds of math determined on how wide the pinhole is supposed to be compared to the back of the can, compared to the surface that you're trying to. And one of the nice things about the solar can, it's all done for you. They know, they already did all the math. They drilled the hole. It's done. Everything else, I'm just guessing.
Any other questions, or we got it? I guess we got it. Go ahead.
All right. So the solar cans are a blast. Easy to do, but one of the challenges is you stick you stick one of these bright aluminum colored cans. I've seen people get very creative. They spray paint them. They'll glue rocks to them or shells, so they fit into their nature, so they can't be found. So they're looking for the next thing that they're going to do, and that is the solar can puck. And this is about the size of a hockey puck. And you spin it, you open it up, and it comes in two halves, and then you have these round pieces of paper, the photographic paper, that are already pre-cut for you, that you can just pop in there. And they also come with the zip ties and all of the Velcro that you might need to place and put on there. And it works very, very similar. You put these things up, and this is just a few days of the sun going across, and it's remarkable. Much smaller, a little bit cheaper, and so I just go, ooh, let me try it. So I hunting around my office every day. I walk around my office. It's a mile loop. We have this beautiful set of palm trees, and so I'm going to put it up there. And notice here I put it at an angle, and this was actually a mistake. I wasn't clear on how these things work. I thought aiming it higher would be better, but it's not, and I'll show you here in a minute. They come in a little packet, so as you remove the puck, it goes into a light sensitive packet, and you can just easily take it home. On the right there, it comes with a band that you can put around the puck to help make sure that it's sealed photographically, so that moisture and things don't get inside of the can. But you just open it up. It's just like I don't know how to describe it. The tin that you would open up with two halves. And there on the bottom there was my first exposure, just for a couple of days, showing the sun, and put it in on the 8th, picked it up on the 10th, and I loved it. This is perfect. It has all of the it has the movement of the sun. It has a wonderful silhouette. You can tell what it is, but notice there's too much sky, and that's because I had tilted it. I didn't need to tilt it. The puck has the hole on the top, which means it's already offset. If you remember that the pinhole camera, as the light comes in, it goes in reverse. So by having the hole on the top, it actually is skewing the image up. So it's already forward, up facing, and you don't need to do anything other than put it on a flat surface, which actually makes it a lot easier. So I had asked the museum. We had our local San Bernardino County Museum. I was doing a special project for them. I asked if I could put up a solar can there. Now the road runs east and west, but I didn't realize this at the time. Again, how can you miss the sun? It's pretty big, but I managed. The sun never actually passed in front of where I wanted it to go. I was hoping it would go right across where the big dome was. Missed the sun totally, but got a nice pinhole camera, silhouette. It was just at the wrong spot. So if I moved it over to the right, and so I'm gonna try it again as we move closer to the winter solstice, and you have to aim it in the right direction, which again, you would think I would be checking these things. Photo pills, the photographer's emeritus, all of those things are helpful, but they're only as helpful as much as you use them. This was a puck I put straight up and down rather than vertical. I put horizontal on top just to see what I would get. Again, there were some palm trees, and you can see the palm trees on the ground, on the lower part, and then the sun passing right here. This was right at the equinox, pretty much straightened down, and then as it moved closer to the winter, it started to. You can also put these things inside. They come with their own little holder. That is when you buy a 5-pack or something like that, it comes with a holder. And this was facing again straight. So if you think of the big solar can that I had on the top of the building, I'm at the same place, but I'm on the 5th floor, looking out at the same direction. And with that is the view that I was doing, and this was from equinox to solstice. So solstice, the winter solstice, the lowest that it was going to be, equinox, pretty much heading straight across, facing almost directly south. Live near Cabazon. It's about 45 or maybe 35-minute drive out to there. So I thought, well, let me put one of these things out there and see what I could do. You know, these are really tall windmills, pretty harsh conditions. So I went ahead and drove out there to put these out on the use their zip ties. And these are one of the nice things with the pucks is it's reusable, recyclable zip ties, and they have a nice little round piece, so it fits better on fence posts. They really thought that through, and so this was a 3-month. I went back and I have a 6-month. So I'm 3 months away, or a couple months away from getting the full month, from the full 6 months, going from solstice to solstice. This was a 3-month trial that I was doing, and you could see the windmills in there. This one was stuck in place. I guess it was not working, so it got a nice. But I love just seeing again that motion of the sun and the artistic nature of that. Greg is a friend of mine that I met at Nightfall. Greg has a beautiful Astro imaging rig. Heard my talk at Nightfall last time we had it in 2022. Bought a puck, and he just sent me his first one from the equinox, and this was overlooked. This is in Phoenix. And I just love how he's processed the image. Again, looking over that. Some of us have, if you look at our Astro imaging rigs, 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, 50,000. We got a boatload of money invested in our rigs. But how can we share this with our grandkids? They may not have the best. They may not be ready to invest that kind of time or money, but a $25 solar can, you can spark their imagination of using this kind of, thinking about the sun, thinking about the stars, it's kind of like your first telescope. It's very, very helpful. Now, this I think is the greatest humor of it all, is that the solar can, a completely analog solution, won Best in Show at the Digital Camera World show this last year. And I think it was the combination of its super simplicity, plus then that you got to take a picture with your phone. And so that it does end up being a digital image. But this has got to be the biggest triumph of analog to digital, I think ever. It's just super simple on how it's used. So I have several of these things up currently right now. I have one in Cabazon. I have one here in Redlands. I have one inside that I'm doing, and then I have another one outside. So I have 4 going right now. 2 of them will be from solstice to solstice, and then 2 of them will be from equinox to equinox. And so I'm looking forward to these. Yeah, it's a long time. It's a long time to process, but you don't have to wait all 6 months if you don't choose to. You can make them go slower. So the SolarCan website, solarcan.co.uk. I was talking to Sam. He goes, "Hey, for the Astro Imaging channel, anybody wants a discount on these things? You've got your special Astro Imaging channel discount code." And so type that in their coupon code and you get 10% off these things. I'm not a reseller, just a fan. But was really helpful to me in figuring out. I use the photo emitters to help figure out where the sun from solstice to solstice. So this is in the winter. You kind of see where it starts, where it rises, and where it sets. And then in the summer, where it rises and where it sets. So I put those 2 together, and that is a big swing. So it really helped me understand when we're talking about shorter days or longer days, why the sun is showing up in one spot at one time of the year, and why it's showing up in another spot in another time of the year. If you think of that as the path of the sun, not drawn with a protractor and compass, where to go, point A to point B, that's a short period of time. Point C all the way around to point D. So that is greater than 180, which explains why my solar cans would, the solar images, they just can't go, they only go 160 degrees or so. They don't go the full 180, and they can't take a picture behind them. And that's why they would get cut off. So that is my experience with the SolarCan, and it's just been a blast. And
Yeah. Dennis, can you tell me if the field of view of the puck is different than the can? I would think the can has a wider field of view.
The can does have a wider field of view. The puck is about 140, and the can is about 160. Where am I? I'm looking for
On just let me interrupt you. See this one line that's heading straight south? If you follow that another, maybe half an inch, you'd be at my house.
Yeah, it's right around the corner. Now, let me grab one of these cans and pucks. I have them in my drawer here. This is the show and tell time, where this is how it comes in its own cardboard container, and you pop it out, and you've got the can. And since it came over from Europe, what was happening was these things would get imploded from just like your ears pop. the cans would be imploded. So they put on this. They stopped putting the tab on for you. You have to put the tab on yourself. That way, it had a little bit of air moved room to breathe as they were shipping internationally. It comes with the instruction book, and inside of the top, they have the zip ties. So everything that somebody needs to get started doing pinhole solargraphy. And again, if you put it up now and you wait 8 years and 2 months, you too could have the record for the longest image in America, or the longest exposure, in the world. But the instruction book that it comes with has some just beautiful examples of solargraphy, and I find it extremely inspiring. Looking for that next location, how am I going to stick it up? Who do I have to ask permission for? And how can I add solargraphy? I've added solargraphy as one of the things that I put in my Astro imaging calendar. So it adds a mix of, I do something with the moon, a couple of things with the Milky Way, something with the sun, and now I've added solargraphy to it. So it gets a nice mix and a fuller range of the motion, of the movement and the motion of the sun.
Bruce, can you get anything of the moon at all?
No, the moon is too soft. It won't
Doesn't have enough light.
won't image. Nope. It won't image. So as you're moving towards one of the solstices, you're going from a high degree to a low degree in terms of how that's working. And so one of the tricks is, this location will work good in the winter, but this location is better in the summer. And so to time that out, not feeling obligated to go all 6 months gives you a little bit of flexibility in terms of artistic, just showing the part of the movement. Sometimes you want it over something, sometimes you want it through something. But again, it's more of a landscape piece of it. Let me grab a puck, because those things are super fun.
It looks like he's got an elephant behind him. I think that's from Joshua Tree. I don't know if you mentioned that.
That is Arch Rock.
Arch Rock in Joshua Tree?
In Joshua Tree, yes. So the puck this is a puck. It's about the size of a hockey puck. And so this is my Post-it note to make sure that no light gets in there. But it's a can. Right now I have the weather sealer. This is like one of those little bracelets that used to be so popular. One of those it's made out of that kind of silicone. And you just open it up. Has the photo paper inside of it. It's all cut out, all ready to go. Just make sure that you got the right side, the correct side up. It's the matte side. The matte side would be up. And I could put that in. I already put my Velcro piece on the back. And so I have the other side of the Velcro. And this, it comes with some of these things. And you just stick it up and you pop it in. And you're good to go.
Bruce, I assume once you get a puck, you could probably cut your own film and use it indefinitely.
You can, or they sell it in bulk already cut out for you. So I have the Ilford paper that I've purchased. but getting it exactly in the right, in the right shape, in the right space, you just buy it in bulk, or you can cut your own. Yeah, this is just standard off the market paper. So you can make your own. These aren't, this is beer can.
Is it slip fit or some kind of adhesive to keep it in place?
That's where on the cans it's got those two little tabs. On the can, it's on the puck. It's just gravity, but then when you screw it in, it just holds it in place. So it's not wobbling around. It stays flat in the back. It's ingenious design. It's about as simple as you can get. And the quality of the images, just like the images that we take with our other Astro, a lot of it depends on your post-processing and your skill using the tools that you have. So it doesn't eliminate your skills. You just have to use it in a different way. So showing that movement, it just adds a different, I would say, if you have a permanent rig set up, grab a couple of these, put them up, see what happens. I think your kids and your grandkids would find it fascinating.
I think all you have to do, Bruce, is find like a teenager or 10-year-old that has the patience to wait 6 months to see what's happening.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Well, the nice thing is you can see results in just a few days. I would love to, I was talking about doing the animation before, have one that you would undo and you would pop in a new one every day. And then you take it out and you put in a new one and you'd save those up, and then you would scan them in and you could just see the sun. Raise it up, raise it down. I think that would be a really cool project. This would be this is perfect for educators, all the STEM learning that's happening. This would be a great way to introduce kids to the movement of the sun, the movement of the earth around the sun, on how all of that works in reality, and not just the theory of it. Why do we have shorter days? Well, there's actually a reason for that, and to discover some of that themselves. So it sparks, I think it sparks some learning. It's a different way of going about photography and astrophotography, but it's a ball. And it's a set it and forget it, but please don't forget it.
Or you'll have an 8-year-long exposure.
There you go. And that'll happen. And then you'll be in the world record. So maybe you should.
Okay. Next year we'll have a show. A year from now, we'll have a show about all you guys went out there and got yourself your solar cameras, and all because of Bruce. Way to go.
Thank you for the opportunity. Looking forward to seeing you, some of you at Nightfall.
Yeah. Nightfall, incidentally, is a big nightfallstarparty.com if you're interested. It's a cool star party. It's a lot of fun. It's out at a RV resort. Dennis will be there. He does a night tour. Dennis Mamata is our speaker next week, and Bruce will be there. I think he's going to, aren't you going to be? You're going to be there. Anyway, and I'm in charge of it. So please sign up, because we got to sell the resort out. Okay, so please. Any rate, thank you very much for being here, Bruce. And we're going to check out now. Dennis will come here next week. And I've been to Alaska with Dennis, taking pictures of the aurora. And he's a really good guide. He knows all over the place. He knows a lot about taking aurora images. So come on back and see us. Okay, we got all the questions, I think. And we got a big kick out of your presentation. Even though it wasn't our traditional astro imaging stuff, I think we learned a lot. Kind of expanded our horizons. Oh, that's it. We expanded our horizons. See you next solstice. Anyway, bye everybody. Patrick, you're in charge. Take us out, dude.
Good night.
Good night.
See you guys next week.